Hello, this is my Chapter 9 outline artifact. Chapter 9 deals with what I find to be the most challenging part of assessing is just how do you incorporate it on a regular basis, how do you maintain it. Chapter 6 talked about what to do with the information in terms of building a portfolio, but Chapter 9 begins, by telling us to make it part of our everyday routine, to integrate it into the fabric of the classroom and our classroom management and our classroom time. We do that by making it part of the daily routine. We create boundaries with other students. There was a section in there in the text that said, if you know you're going to be doing assessment for some students, set the other activities up accordingly, and encourage and trust that either the aide that you have, or a paraprofessional, or teacher's assistant, whatever it is, will be able to run the remaining aspects of the classroom while you're busy assessing. And then to ask others for help. This one's difficult for me because I know in terms of my experience with parent-teacher conferences, the handful of times that I did have an assistant kind of check that box or assess that skill, I felt like that was the exact skill that the parent wanted more information about. So that one's difficult for me, and maybe as I go farther into education, I'll get better at that. But I feel like I want to be the one to observe their behavior because I'm the one that has to defend it or discuss it or evaluate it with the parents. So that one's hard for me, but it's definitely a necessary, or it can be a helpful tool to designate to others. I know somewhere in the text it talked about recruiting parent volunteers. And it also talks about encouraging the students to assess themselves. So as we develop our assessment plan, we need to know what we're assessing, why we're assessing it, and where's the great window for the assessment. After we gather that information, after we do the observations and the assessments, we need to be able to come together and be organized with files and forms. Make sure we have a good method to use to record the data, and then also how do we transfer that data to usable information in terms of giving it out to parents or filing it, or so that we know where it's at. And then we need to know what we're going to do with the data. Are we using it to tailor the instruction? Are we using it to, there's just, what are we going to do with the information once we find it? Are we using it to differentiate instruction? Are we using it to identify groupings within the class? There's several different reasons. So that's a basic overview of Chapter 9. Thanks.